Greetings and welcome to PinballHelp. Mike here. Work continues on this Bally Williams WPC 89 board here. This is from the Doctor Who that I'm working on that wouldn't boot up. If you've watched the previous videos in the series, you know that we started swapping components out, trying to see if we could get this working, move the board into another machine to just isolate the problem, and did confirm that there was a problem with the board. Then I made a little dongle here using being able to connect this PC power supply here to the device, so we can use a bench power supply, kind of little homebrewed version that's using a PC power supply, and kind of ruled that in the last thing it was probably the memory chip. So that's what we're messing with. Let me get this camera focused on it, and you can see this is the where the memory chip, the RAM chip, was right here. And I have removed the old chip, and that was covered in another video where I was very carefully. What I actually did was, here's the old memory chip, and you can see I cut all the legs off of it. I used a very fine tool. Let me show you. This guy right here, this is a precision tool designed for cutting chip legs. It's really important to use the right tools. If you try just regular kind of pliers, you can't really get down in there. But what I did to remove the chip was, just because I did not want to blow any of the traces or the eyelets, I carefully clip, cut this off, and then worked every one of them out. So now I've put a 28-pin IC socket, dip socket in here, and very carefully soldered that into place. And you can see on the bottom here, came out pretty nice. There's our this is with the soldering right here. Pretty smooth. I mean, you'll be able to tell that it's been replaced because there's a little flux residue around things. But other than that, it's a pretty clean repair. No blown traces that I know of. And so, now, when you're replacing the RAM chip in here, and there's a reason, even if your game does work, you might want to do this. You might want to replace this RAM chip. Why? Because you can do the external battery pack, or the battery pack used to, normally sits on the thing right here, but if the batteries start leaking, that'll destroy the whole board. So the quick thing to do is to throw an external battery pack in, which I've done a lot of videos on doing this. But for these Bally Williams games, there's another thing you could do. You can add a special RAM that's a non-volatile RAM that will not lose its settings when the power is lost. Basically, all this thing does is provide enough voltage to keep whatever's in memory energized and static. So if you replace the traditional RAM, and this is one of the traditional RAM chips right here, with a non-volatile RAM, which is about $15 more, then you don't need batteries at all. So that's what I'm doing. Now this is I believe it's a 6264 memory chip, and you'll have to research, like, even though this says LH5268A, but it's compatible with this 6264 RAM. And let's see what this is. This is very faint on this chip here, but it says Ramtron, which I think is the common thing, and it says EM1608-120 and M054250, a whole bunch of numbers. It's a 120 nanosecond memory chip. So let's stick this thing in. Now, if you've been following the video series, you know that we could get this thing to, first it wouldn't boot up at all, just the D19 and D21 would stay lit, in the middle when D20 wouldn't blink at all. Then when we pulled the RAM completely out, I got it to flash twice, which is the RAM diagnostic. So sometimes the RAM can be bad, and it won't even tell you that because it won't boot at all. If the RAM is damaged in a certain way, it won't get to the diagnostic test to boot up to check the RAM, which is what happened in this case. So, alright, so we're going to make sure we got everything lined up with the dots and the pin numbers, and all the pins are in. And then we'll just very carefully push the chip down in. All right. Okay, so our RAM chip is in. We're ready to give it a test. Let me zoom the camera down in here so you can get a look at those LEDs right down here. Does not like to get too close, huh? Okay. So, have our 6809 microprocessor. We have the RAM right here, and we have the 6264 memory. Oh, this is the ROM. Microprocessor, ROM, RAM, and then this is the PLCC, which is the custom processor that was designed by Bally Williams for the game. So now we'll apply power, and we'll watch these lights, and we'll see what happens. There we go. That's what you're supposed to see. That's a successfully booting board when D19 goes out and D20 is just blinking like that, like the heartbeat. Just up, 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 up. So this thing is fully booted and it's working fine. And if I pull this chip out, what'll happen is it'll boot up and it'll give me 2 flashes, which indicate there's a problem with the memory. So there you have it. We've got this board working and back to life. And since we've got non-volatile RAM in here, we do not need the battery pack anymore. So I'm going to desolder that, and I'm going to put a little note saying that there's NV RAM on the board, so batteries are not needed. And we should be good to go. So that's it. If this is the only video you've seen, you can go back and watch the earlier series where we kind of diagnose the entire process and get the board working. So a successful board level repair of the main processing unit in a Bally Williams Doctor Who. Thanks for watching. For more, visit PinballHelp.com. I'm on Facebook /PinballHelp, Twitter /PinballHelp, all that good stuff. If you like what I'm doing and you appreciate it, there's ways in which you can throw a token my way, because all the videos and everything are up for free. If you go to mysticcrew.com, mystickrewe.com. That's our club where we accept donations and stuff. So anyway, there you go. I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.